Sure that at some point in the past 2 years, you've heard about how AI can improve your grades, how AI can make you better at learning, how AI can move the grades of students 2 standard deviations to the right. How do you actually do that? How do you actually go about learning using AI? It's been said over and over again, 100 different times by people. They say that AI can help you learn, AI will make you smarter, AI is much better than the tutors, AI can do this, AI can do that, AI is the better learning tool, anyone can get better education, education has been democratized. But how does this actually apply to you, and how can you actually use AI to get better? Well, that's what I'm going to teach you in this video. I'm going to teach you exactly how to learn better using AI. Like, this is something that's so important to a point where even Oxford and Cambridge are teaching their students how to use AI to learn better. And so what I'm going to do for you is I'm going to democratize the information. I'm going to help you. I'm going to teach you how to learn using AI. So these guys actually go in real depth in terms of how they're teaching their students to use AI. Because AI is good and all, but if you use AI too much to a point where AI is doing everything for you, this doesn't actually benefit you in any way. If you think about it, it's kind of like having a personal trainer in the gym. If you were to get your personal trainer to run laps for you around the field, that wouldn't actually have any positive impact on you. But actually, the personal trainer is just there guiding you through that. They're guiding you through doing the laps, through doing the reps, the exercise, whatever they need you to do in order to achieve your fitness goals. It's the same thing with AI. If you let the AI do everything for you, you won't actually get the benefits. You actually need to get AI to guide you in a specific direction. So the best method of learning, which has been proven multiple times over and over again, is interacting with the information. Most of the learning that happens through interaction. When you're actually interacting with the content, when you're interacting with the information, that's when you're learning the most. You don't learn mathematics the most when your teacher is explaining to you how a quadratic equation is solved. You learn when you're trying to copy what she's doing, when you're interacting with your teacher. Okay, when you're interacting with the maths, when you're working through the equations, that's when you learn. The best proven method for learning, which has been proven time and time again, is called retrieval practice. Okay, an example is that you do not remember information but try to remember information. You remember information by trying to recall the information. Okay, you don't remember it by saying, "Okay, I want to remember this. I want to remember." No, you remember it by trying to recall that information, by trying to bring back what you read. That's interaction with the information. When you're trying to reapply what you just learned to answering a question, to solving a problem with the information that you recently acquired, that's how you remember it. This is called retrieval practice. Retrieval practice consistently benefits students learning, okay, a systematic review of the applied research in schools and classrooms. There is one blog post about it, or it's actually a research paper about it that actually goes deeper in depth with it. If you want to know more about that, just comment and I'll drop the link to the research. Now, there's actually a guy who speaks on this a bit more. A guy called Ethan Mollick actually has quite a bit to say about this. One use within assigning AI, 7 ways of using AI in class. This is a post, you can just pause the screen and go over it, but I won't be going over it in the video. It's just something for you if you want to just get a little bit more breadth and depth into this topic. So all of the things that I'm going over, all of the things that I'm talking about in this video, they all follow Bloom's taxonomy. They all follow Bloom's taxonomy theory, okay? So basically, when you're learning something, you first remember the information, and then you understand the information, then you apply the information, then you analyze it, and then you evaluate how you are and how you're performing, and then you create something using that information. The creation could be maybe something like writing a book or making a video about it. Because now I understand the theories behind this. Basically, I've gone through this Bloom's taxonomy theory when it comes to learning how to use AI, and you're also going to go through this during this video. So you want to always be following the principles of Bloom's taxonomy when using AI. You can even ask AI to follow this theory when you're asking it questions. You ask it a prompt, right? When you prompt it and you're asking it a question, you tell it to use this theory or concept when teaching that concept to you to make sure that you understand. Okay. One way of following the principles is to use Socratic questioning. Okay. So what is Socratic questioning? Okay, so I'm gonna start with a prompt that you can give to ChatGPT. This would be act as a Socratic tutor and help me understand the concept of momentum in physics. Ask me questions to guide my understanding. Okay. So the first question that it's gonna give you will be something like, what do you think momentum might mean in physics? The first question that it responded with, question number 1, it gave me 10 questions. Okay, so it actually gave me 10 questions. And the first question was, what do you think momentum might mean in a physical sense? Can you describe it in your own words? Okay, so that actually gets me to think about it. So this is now testing if you understand momentum. It's going from ground 1. And after you respond to it and it gauges where you are, you can then ask it to help you fill in the gaps in information that you don't have. So these are the types of Socratic questions, right? There are 6 categories of Socratic questions set below, and with prompts on how you might apply these to your own evaluation of sources and evidence. So the first thing that you're going to be doing when you're undergoing Socratic questioning is seeking clarification. How does this relate to the topic? That's what you're trying to find out. And then the other thing that you're trying to do is, do you need to find out one of the other pieces of information that you're looking for is that within seeking of clarification, the other thing is, what else do you need to find out about this topic? That's the other thing that you're trying to find out with Socratic questioning, okay? And then you're going to have some probing assumptions. You want to probe your thoughts. What is the claim based on? We want to find out that whichever claim was made, is it based on something else? And is that something based in reality? And then what can the claim be checked? And then the second thing is, can the claim be checked or verified somewhere else? This is going to give us some insight on whether this is true or if it's wrong. And it's just a straight up lie. So now we're going to go to probing evidence. Okay. What is the evidence or proof of this thing's validity? Is it valid or not? Does it actually have evidence? So we're going to be thinking about whether this thing has evidence to prove its validity, whether it's true or false, because this could be a lie. So you need to have proving evidence. You need to be able to prove whatever information that you find or whatever information that you understand. So basically, if it's a physics question, I'm asking you about momentum. You need to be able to prove what you learned about momentum. Okay? If it was a question on gravity, you need to be able to prove that gravity exists. Then you know that, okay, this is evidence. You need to have evidence and understand the evidence. Otherwise, your brain will forget about it because your brain needs to have justification for information to remember it. And then, what examples are provided? Okay, either you need to provide examples of this or you need to get the AI to provide the examples to you. Okay, so this is probing evidence. Without examples, it's very hard to conceptualize something, especially if it's a complex subject like physics, or chemistry, working on an atomic level. You cannot see atoms, and you will never see atoms unless you've looked through a microscope. But in daily life, you don't see atoms. So you need some examples to actually conceptualize all of this information that it makes sense in your head. Then the third thing that you're going to be doing is, are the evidence and the examples valid, reliable, and sufficient? Note, valid, reliable, and sufficient. Those are the 3 things that you need to focus on. Are the evidence and the examples valid, reliable, and sufficient? They need to actually be valid because there's some fake evidence. Okay, you can get evidence of something that is not true. Evidence from a mouth breather. Mouth breathers are people that don't know what they're talking about. They're essentially speaking out of their ass. And then is it reliable? Who is the source of this information? Are you getting this information from some TikToker out there, or are you getting the information from a blog post from Oxford? You need to know if the information is reliable. And then it needs to be sufficient. The sufficiency is a big part because often, most than not, especially with AI, when you're asked, if you are the one who's asking it Socratically, right? It will often give you information that is not sufficient, that is lacking, that has holes in it. Okay? So you need to actually, when it comes to things like summarization, let's say you want to get key points for a specific topic. The best option for you to actually understand the topic is to go through the topic, then you summarize the topic, then you ask AI to do the same thing, and then you contrast between the two so that you know where you went wrong and which information that you missed. And then through that way, you also see which information the AI also missed. Okay. You ask the AI to go over it again. You can upload a document of whatever thing that you're reading, maybe the page, or take a picture of it. And then you ask the AI to go over it again. And then you the information is sufficient or not. Then we're going to have the questioning viewpoint. Okay. What are the alternative views or opinions? What do they say about this? If it was something like, if it was a question on something like, what determines right or wrong? Things like right or wrong, they ask you, is this action right or wrong? Let's say that you have a dog, right? Let's say there's a dog. Don't mind me being bad at drawing. I just created an abomination. Okay. So you as a person, right? If you have a dog, okay, the leash there. If you have a dog, you're allowed to do a dog, right? You're allowed to do certain things to the dog. For example, in certain parts of the world, if you beat a dog for doing something bad, that's considered disciplining the dog. And it's totally normal. For example, in African and Indian countries, this is quite common. Beating your dog, you discipline it the same way you discipline a child. Because it's the belief that the dog understands the same way that a human being will understand. And this has some validity because this is basically negative reinforcement to the dog to not repeat the same behavior. And then somewhere like in the US, if you were to beat your dog, you might end up getting arrested under the guise of animal cruelty. So is it right or wrong to beat your dog? Depending on where you are, it's both right and wrong. If you're in America, it's wrong to beat your dog. If you're in Africa and India, it's right to beat your dog. There's nothing wrong with it. So you need to understand what are the alternative views and what are the alternative opinions, because these determine the validity of certain things. And then what are the strengths and weaknesses of the claim? Okay, you need to know the strengths and the weaknesses of the claim. So with most things, it's never either black or white. It's always gray. Okay? It's in between, it's in the middle. Okay, it's a range between the two. It's not one or the other. It's a mixture of both. So you need to find the strengths and the weaknesses of any claim. This will be the best way to absorb information, the best way to learn anything. And then what you're gonna need to do is you're gonna want to start questioning the implications. Okay. So when you question the implications, what this might mean in practice. Okay. So different statements with the English language is quite an ambiguous language. The same sentence can mean two different things solely based on the tonality or the viewpoint or what frame for such lens someone is viewing it from. So you need to question the implications of what this might mean in practice. Because some things mean something else in theory, but in practice it means something completely different because of the language being ambiguous. And then what you also need to check is what are the likely consequences of any action. That's another thing that you need to involve in Socratic question. So this is in a way a short masterclass on the Socratic questioning. I think this is coined after Socrates, okay, one of the greatest philosophers of all time. So this type of question is going to help you throughout anything that you do outside of using AI. When you are learning something, try to ask your teachers, tutors, online gurus, if you're going through a mentorship, try to question them Socratically so that you can actually understand whatever they're trying to teach you. And you can also understand if they understand their own shit or not through Socratic questioning. Because you can easily identify whether someone actually understands something or not via Socratic questioning. But if you want to try this on a guru, you actually need to go in with the answers. Otherwise, you're going to be lost. And then the guru's kind of lost, but they're going to lie to you and pretend to not be lost and lead you into the forest. And then you're going to be cooked and you have wasted money. And then the last step of Socratic questioning is questioning the question. Okay, why is the question important? Sometimes we never question the question, but sometimes I actually need to be questioning the question. I can't believe I said questioning the question so many times and it actually made sense. I wonder how many times did I say question? Just throw that in the comments. So, why is the question important? Why is it important to question the question? Sometimes you often find yourself asking the wrong question or answering the wrong question to a particular solution. This actually happened. This actually happened to me today when I was having a debate with my friend. The debate was on whether AI will replace software engineering. Will AI replace the software engineers? I know that this will, of course, happen. But then my friend decided to have a debate in parallel with me. So we're debating about whether AI can replace software engineers or not. He put certain parameters to his argument, right? He wanted me to prove if AI can invent something from scratch. He was claiming that people invent things from scratch. Therefore, if AI cannot invent things from scratch, therefore it cannot replace software engineers. So we spent most of the time arguing about whether AI can invent or not. I gave different reasons of why it can invent, but he always fell back to one point. For AI to invent something, it needs an instance from a human. It needs a human being to tell it to invent something. It does not just invent from thin air, right? AI needs a person to tell it what to do. AI needs someone to say, invent a teleportation machine. It doesn't just prompt teleportation out of nowhere. But then his major problem is he was refusing to accept the fact that AI now cannot do that, but AI in the future can do that. But then his problem was now that without the people initially, that AI in the future cannot invent. Therefore, the invention is not from the AI, it's from the people who initially told it to invent. And then the debate was just going in circles and circles and circles. This could have all been prevented if we had just simply questioned the question. So now we need to move on to a couple of. So you can ask AI this prompt. Can you explain momentum using everyday analogies and provide real life examples? So when you ask AI something using real world examples and analogies, it makes it easier for you to understand things. If you are more on the gamer side, you can ask it to use gaming analogies. It can even be making analogies alluding to Call of Duty, God of War, Assassin's Creed Odyssey. If you're more on the movie side, it can be making analogies that correspond to movies like The Wolf of Wall Street. I think at that point, it will be very hard for you to not understand something when it's giving you analogies that are aligned with the things that you like. You just tell it that I like doing X, or I like to do X, I'm passionate about X, I find X interesting. Okay, ask me the analogies based on X and provide real life examples that relate to what I like. So let's say you're a cricket fan, right? It's going to relate any question that you ask it to cricket in it. This could even be something like hitting the wicket and the batsman getting struck out, or maybe even the batsman hitting the ball. You can find an analogy for that. Let's say you're learning about projectile motion. You can find an analogy about that using the ball. Okay. Then the other thing that you can do is you can ask AI to give you a multi-level explanation of momentum. Okay. And ask it to give you multi-level explanations of anything. This is a prompt that I wrote. Give me a multi-level explanation of momentum. First at a level of a child, then a high school student, and then an academic explanation. So basically, you're working through the different levels of understanding. Okay. It may be hard for you to conceptualize a quadratic equation at start, but you started at grade 1 level. You started in preschool learning simple maths. As you're going through your primary school and then your secondary school, the mathematics are getting more complex at different levels. Okay. You're asking AI to do the same for you, but instead of you doing that over a period of years, you're doing that over a period of minutes. This will actually allow you to get the information faster and start learning things that much faster. So this is the output that it gave me. So this is the output that he gave me. Here's number 1 for a child. Momentum is like a push. That something is momentum is this is the example that he gave me for a child. The first example, the first level. Momentum is like a push. Momentum is like a push that something has been moved. So this is the example forward slash. So this is the explanation that he gave me at the child level. Momentum is like a push that something has because it's moving. Imagine you're running really fast and you bump into a ball. The ball moves far because you gave it a big push with your running. But if you're just walking slowly and you bump into the same ball, it doesn't go as far because your push wasn't strong. Bigger things and faster things have more momentum. They push harder when they move. That's explaining momentum to a child. Then you can, of course, go to the high school level and then the academic level. Okay, you can give it a syllabus code of your syllabus and then it will explain at that level. Or maybe you can give it an example of your university or your degree. It will explain it at the level that they usually want. They usually post their syllabuses, so you can even paste the syllabus. You can upload the syllabus as a PDF into the model, and then it give you an even better answer, exactly what's required. Now we're going to move on to another interesting prompt. So this is one of the best prompts that I have for you. So the prompt is going to go something like this. It's going to be a little complicated, but I just want you to bear with me, okay? Just have a topic that you want, okay? So this is going to be helpful when getting the key terms and the different requirements of information that you need to understand and memorize. So you're going to paste in the prompt, make a list of propositions in this text in the form X. If a type of Y, W is caused by X, A explains B. Put it into a table with 3 columns, okay? What you then get is, so for this more complex prompt, the way you're going to use it is you can paste in a document, right? Without saying anything. And you tell the AI that I'm going to give you a prompt to analyze this document. First, just read it and don't respond. You can paste that into the AI. And then the second thing, you're not going to paste in this prompt. Or you can put the text first and then you paste in this prompt of whatever you wanted to learn. The prompt will go like this. Make a list of propositions in this text in the format X is a type of Y, W is caused by X, A explains B. Put it into a table with 3 columns. So the output is going to be something like this. I pasted something in about insurance, investing, and geopolitical risks. So the proposition will now be carry trade is a type of investment strategy. It's going to have classification. Borrowing in low interest currencies to invest in high yield assets. So it's going to be explaining all of these things in a more simple way, and it's going to cover all of the points that you need to analyze and that you need to understand. And then when you cover the topic, you know exactly what you need to know. But wait, isn't this getting AI to write things for me? The exact thing I've been telling you not to do? Getting AI to do things for you? No, this is different. You getting the key points that you then actually go and research on, things that you actually then go in depth on, that actually help you learn, that actually help you understand. So this is actually a lot easier now that we now have reasoning models. They can reason to check if the response that they gave you is actually adequate and actually makes sense. So it will be more accurate and better at doing this for you. So that concludes the video. I hope you found the video useful and you're gonna be start. I hope you found the video useful and you're gonna start implementing this into your learning process. Okay, so thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, and leave a like. So thank you for watching the video. Subscribe and perhaps watch the next video. Thank you. I'm out.